much. Here now, Dr. Michael Pillsbury from the Center for Chinese Strategy at the Hudson Institute. He's the author of the book, The 100-Year Marathon, China's Secret Strategy to Replace America as the Global Superpower. And Steve Hilton, host of The Next Revolution. Welcome to both of you. Dr. Pillsbury, let me start with you. Your take on this story and how similar is it to what we saw with Khashoggi?
Well, the important difference, Martha, as you know, is that Khashoggi did not have a green card. He didn't have a wife in the United States complaining. But the other really big difference is it's one thing if it's Saudi Arabia, something else again if it's the world's second largest economy. And there's still an enormous amount of goodwill toward China in our press and academic circles. So I don't expect the outcry to be as great about Mr. Liu. It should be greater, actually. But it won't be as great as with Khashoggi, who was sort of an employee of the Washington Post. This wasn't supposed to happen, Martha. As you know, 40 years ago, the great dream that a few people, Donald Trump being one, myself as another, writing books saying this would not happen. We lost. The mainstream still is pro-China. So I'm kind of pessimistic about Mr. Liu.
Yeah. You know, you think about the fact that there is a lot of backlash, Steve Hilton, about meetings with Putin or not meeting with Putin, meeting with the Crown Prince, not meeting with the Crown Prince. And yet, as Dr. Pillsbury points out, you know, nobody is saying that about China. And yet they are a huge violator of human rights. And you look at the fact that there's 1 million Chinese Muslims estimated to be in essentially what's described as work camps. And you hear not all that much about it.
Absolutely right, Martha, and it's so fantastic that you are giving this story the prominence it deserves and bringing some of these facts up, because we don't hear it enough. The truth is that the Beijing communist regime is the world's worst authoritarian dictatorship, and it is getting worse, not better. We were told a story, just as Dr. Pillsbury was saying, was that the more we engage with China, the better it gets. It's the opposite. It's got worse. There's not just those internment camps, it's the way that they imprison and torture their political dissidents, and they're now using technology to assert their authoritarianism in a really Orwellian way. They've got this social credit system which monitors the behavior of every citizen, and they get punished if they don't do the right thing. In the world today, China truly is the evil empire.
Dr. Pillsbury, you wrote a book about the motivation of China to replace the United States. It's not that they want to open relations, according to your writing, and, you know, sort of join us with this in a leadership position in the world. They want to replace us, and they do it in ways in their country that are very dissimilar to the beliefs that we have in this country. And it's a military offensive as well as a technological offensive and, you know, imprisoning people in human rights violations.
Well, I think the reason President Trump has several times now called me the leading authority on China is he's read the book, and he had similar views way back 18 years ago in a book he wrote. But there's just been a few of us like this, Martha. The main thing is our books get mocked. I was demonized 4 years ago when the book came out. Opinion is moving closer to Steve Hilton and me and President Trump. But there's still this hardcore of supporters of China inside our system. And we have to hope that, Martha, your own coverage will help move the needle. But I remain, I think it's in doubt what's going to happen tomorrow night on Saturday, because there's so much pressure on the president from what Peter Navarro has called the global billionaires, who are his donors, his friends, and they're saying, stop the tariffs, this trade war won't work, somehow China will behave more rationally in the future. And this is the same thing with arresting journalists. This wasn't supposed to happen, but can we really prove that he's disappeared? He's been gone several weeks now. You know, you can see how the other side, from Steve and me and President Trump, and I hope you, Martha, too, we're kind of outvoted by the billionaires.
Well, we're certainly asking questions that definitely need to be asked. A quick thought from both of you on how the president should approach this question of trade and how much hardball he can play in this meeting tomorrow night. Steve, and then Dr. Pillsbury, please.
Look, we talk about a trade war, and that's true. The trade issue is a bad one. You've got the trade deficit. Much more serious has been the persistent theft of intellectual property and abuse of the World Trade Organization rules. But you know what? This is bigger than a trade war. This is a Cold War, and we wanted to stop it from being a real war, and that means you've got to keep up the pressure.
Dr. Pillsbury, final thought.
Well, one thing the president can do is sort of pocket the very few concessions the Chinese have already made to him. They're afraid of him. They've written that he's the smartest American president in history. They have made some small offerings to him. He can thank them in some sense for that, but still go ahead with the tariffs. That's what I suspect is going to happen.
We'll watch. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Great input. Good to have you both tonight. Many thanks.
Thanks, Martha.